Hi everyone, my name's Anthony Cummins and I'm about to test a katana on this piece of ham here. I've got a normal piece of ham and I'm going to do some test cuts, but this video is going to be a little bit in depth because I want to answer some questions. So if you want to get straight to the test cuts, I'll put the time in the information below. The main aim of my work is to discover the truth behind the samurai. We all think we know what the samurai did, but I want to question everything and say, just how did the samurai do that? That includes fighting. How did the samurai fight? We all think we have an understanding of that, but I want to get to the nuts and bolts and discover what they did. So most people consider me as a bit unorthodox in my approach to samurai history. So recently, two questions came up, and question number one was, Anthony, when you are showing sword fighting or you're displaying some sort of sword combat, you arch your back and you stand in an arched form. The person who asked this said they didn't think it was real or they didn't think it was correct, and they didn't think that I would be able to generate any power from that. So today I want to answer that question. And the second question is Anthony, when you show your swordsmanship, do you make it up or does it come from any historical documents, or where do you get your information from? So they're the two questions we're going to answer today. Now I've set this up as I've picked up pig ham because of course it's close to human flesh, and what I've done is I've set it up against the wall. The reason for this is a human body would weigh about, probably in ancient Japan, probably about 8 or 9 stone, and they obviously have the power of the muscles, including the weight. I'm bringing a school of samurai warfare back to life called Natori Ryu, and we study from the Book of Samurai. And in there, Isui Sensei says that when people are moving backwards and forwards, it actually changes the way the blade will cut on them. He also says that cutting with a blade should be a pull and push, or a push and pull motion. The idea is, instead of big chops that swing through and cut people in half, the idea is that you're parrying, you're fighting, you're moving in, and eventually you'll do a small angle down and then a pull, or you're literally placing on and pulling. Okay, so that's the type of sword cut I'm trying to execute. So I'm not trying to get in one through a target. I'm trying to fight a moving human who's trying to parry, block, move, and I'm doing the same. And Isui Sensei says the moment you can get into striking range, then you need to be starting cutting. That's the distance you've got to be. So I've put the ham there so I can get in up close and I can try this type of cut, and I'll get the similar or asimilar resistance to what would be a human who's moving forward. Their body, their force is moving forward, and I can hit them there. So remember, in these test cuts, we're looking for severe injuries along the neck, along the face, along the arm, possibly in here, up, and obviously if you change the cut underneath, you're going there, or maybe through into the flesh of the thigh. So let's see what sort of damage the pig will get. Oh my God! Oh my word! I didn't even hit it that hard. Jesus Christ. I said to myself before I started this video, Anthony, don't go, oh my God and Jesus Christ, but oh my God. I should end the video right here. I hardly touched that, and that is the power of a katana through a piece of human flesh with a pull put cush, a touch and pull, and I wasn't even going for it. I was maybe trying to do a first test one. That is, and of course the gentlemen who asked these questions were very nice, and they're very nice people, but they said that they thought cutting would be very difficult against human flesh. Now of course it depends on what people are wearing, how much armour they've got on, or what that type of thing, but oh my word, that is outstanding. Right, let's try a different one. This is where I've parried, I've pulled, we've come up with maybe bound swords, but I found a gap and I can place it on the enemy. We're pushing forward, moving, but as I've placed it on the enemy, I can go. Right, there we are. Oh, Jesus, yeah, it didn't look like much. Oh. My God. Obviously not as deep as that one because it didn't have the chop in. Let me try again with a bit more pressure. So I'm up against it. I found my enemy, my target is moving in, and I cut. Yeah, there you, yeah, oh my word. So we're getting that deep into a neck. So if I come on, bang! And it doesn't matter about this. I disagree totally with the archer. I think from here, it's about generating power. Wham! And that is where you're coming up close to an enemy you're in, and you're bang, down. That will go. I'll go into more about that in a moment. But we're going about that deep. So you're looking about that deep into the neck. Probably a V in the shoulder like that. So we've got up in. Yeah, that was a bit more wow guys. That was a bit more pressure, but we're past the knuckles now. So imagine that's 3 cuts that if I've landed 3 cuts, that is the damage that's going to have happened around the neck area, around the shoulder. This arm will be gone. If I can get it on this sword arm, that's gone. If I can get that sort of cut into the, oh wow. So I'm working with this work, Isuri Sensei's working. I've never tried this before on me, and it's really quite scary actually. I find swords genuinely quite scary, and I think they would probably kill you. Let's turn it around. I'm going to do the unthinkable now, and I know everybody out there in Samurai Land is going to now probably want to kill me, but I'm going to use a 1500 sword on this. So this is my original katana. It's between 1550 and 1650, they reckon. It's a cut down tachi. It's got a massively curve. So I'm going to try that. The reason is because again, Isuri Sensei, the head of Natoryu, he says it doesn't matter how old a sword is, doesn't matter how expensive a sword is, doesn't matter if it's a treasure, if it doesn't cut anything, it's not worth shit basically, so throw it away. So this is my sword, I paid for it. It's an antique, but let's try. Oh, nice. Oh, that's actually deeper than the modern one. Let's go up for a cut like that. Oh, excuse me, I don't mean to swear. Oh my god, that is 10 times better than that one. Watch. Oh my word. Right, I'm going to say that's question 1 answered, to be honest. So running up that way, and then, so pressure on, there. Again, I've got in with parry, pressure's on. Yeah, you're a dead man. Right, question 1. That's question 1 answered, guys. That's question 1 answered. You see, guys, I'm in a confined area. There's hardly any space, and I'm still, which is what a fight would be. Bang, we're in there. Boom. So, boom, cutting. I am now mega confident with my swordsmanship. Mega confident. Yes. Right, let's give it one more cut with an antique. So I'm going to cut in. I'm going to cut. There. Yeah. I'm not even generating the power I do with the bokken, so it's a bit of a, the question's redundant now, guys. Right, let me carry on. So here's the cuts we've been making. Here's the sort of, my cousin Stephen's coming down, he's having ham for dinner, he doesn't know this yet. Look at the cuts we're making, look at that. That was with hardly any, that is going to literally, obviously you've got to take into account armour, chainmail, clothes, but that's what they're designed for. It's not a perfect world. You know, your enemy might be armoured, he might not, he might have clothes on. Maybe I should have put a piece of cloth on that to see how it would work. But basically, the sword is designed for one purpose, guys, one purpose only, and that is to sever flesh. And that's what it does best. So, basically this idea that it's hard to cut someone, I think is quite redundant, to be honest. Right, what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to put some of the swordsmanship that I've actually done online, and this is that brought about the question of, Anthony, I don't think you can generate enough power from there. So I'm just going to put you a selection of my swordsmanship, and let me know what you think down below. Let me know what you think. Get ready, you're going to kill me. Oh, bang! Get him used to it. Actually, come back. Yeah, break it. It's alright. And then, got it. When I can hear him there, I cut both legs off. Remember? Draw out. So we've test cutted strike and pull. We've test cutted push pulling when we're up against something. Both of them have phenomenal effects. So let's see if there's any examples of the way of standing in a crouched position or not a straight position inside of Koryu and Japanese samurai enthusiasts. So this is Kuroda Sensei, and he's classed as one of Japan's best Iaido swordmasters. When I started this idea that I thought samurai actually fight a little bit different than they do in Koryu. I'm not saying Koryu are wrong, I'm saying we have to adapt and take the essence of Koryu and make it inside, make it flexible and movement and dynamic and find out how they fought. And I was so impressed to hear that there's a man called Kono Sensei, and he was doing this well before I thought of it. And I in no way think I'm, wow, he's doing what I'm doing. I'm like, I've come across him, I've seen him in real life, I've been to one of his seminars, and I was like, that man is bang on correct. So it's Kono Sensei as well, and I just think he has it right. He's Japanese, he's famous in Japan, he knows about Japanese history, and he says the way they move in Koryu is not correct. They need to adjust their movement for real combat. So question 1, Anthony, why do we hunch over? And I don't think you can do that in real life. I don't think you can generate enough power. So let's answer that question. Basically, I hunch over because I feel it's more powerful. I feel I can get more power than stood up. I feel if I'm stood upright, I have to reach or move in and reach, and I just don't feel comfortable. However, I also have a very slight twist in my spine. It's very slight that way, so I'm actually more comfortable when I fight in this position as opposed to stood up. That's actually twists on my spine, so I've just naturally gone to that because I prefer it as a comfortable. And then of course I've checked it in Koryu and it exists in Japanese art, so that's why I do that. And does it create enough power? More than enough power, and I hardly put any power in, if you know what I mean. I could really go for it. So yes, question 1, guys, I think we've answered it. I think we've answered it. Yes, you can crouch over. B, it generates more than enough power. So let's get to question 2. Do I make up what I am doing? No, of course not. I don't just make it up. Now, everybody has different levels of martial ability. Some people are born a bit better at fighting than others. Some people train hard till they become better than those people born. But when you get somebody who's a bit of a lad and he's trained to fight really well, then you've got a good fighter on your hands. So throughout my life I've trained and trained in martial arts. I trained between the ages obviously of a young kid all the way up to about 30, 31, and then I started to peel away from become more academic, and I have less focus on martial arts now. But I am, as a side project, as opposed to my ninjutsu and my gungaku, military studies, I do like to discover what the samurai does at actual combat. And I'm starting to I'm only at the beginning of my journey, guys. I'm at the very beginning of my journey, but I'm starting to find primary documents that tell us how samurai actually fought. Now, as I mentioned before, we've got Book of Samurai. This is the one I mainly base my stuff on, not for the fighting, but for samurai history, or the way samurai thought. But Isui Sensei, who's the head of the school back in the 1600s, he says, in swordsmanship, there is 3 parts in the hand movement. There are 3 parts in the sword, i.e. can it cut, is it a good sword? And there are 3 parts in the mind, but there's 1 part in the movement of the feet, in actual linear movement. So he's saying 30% is the hands, 30% is the sword, 30% is the mind, and 10% is moving. Now, sword, sorted, there's a 1500 sword. Mind, it's irrelevant in this situation because I'm facing a hammer, I'm not facing a real person. But we can go for the other 2. So as you see in my cuts, as you see, a lot of movement is in the hands, which I actually go against as a martial artist. You shouldn't hit with just hands. But Isui Sensei is not saying that. The movement in the hips should be brought down. The hips generate a phenomenal amount of power. So when you connect the hips with the arms, your body moves as a single unit, and them type of cuts are good. Now, the reason people want massive movement to get cuts that cut all the way through is because they're doing a specific thing. They're trying to cut a predetermined thing. They're trying to cut through X amount of points or through X amount of centimetres of something. They're not trying to kill a human. Their mental understanding is that, oh, if I need to cut through this deer carcass, so I'm going to use a massive cut and a massive step and generate all the power in my body to cut through the carcass. Where I'm thinking, how do you kill a human? We need to cut here, we need to cut it, we need to cut in the hips. It takes a very slight amount. So Isui Sensei is saying that while there's movement in the hands, there's a slight 10% movement in the body. And then he says, when you hit, breathe out on the cut. So you've got to, and that against someone's neck is generating a massive amount of power. Because he also says, your cut, if you hit with the kisaki, which is here, you said your cut will not be so good. And if you hit on the way out, it will not be so good. So you need to hit here, and you need to be close enough to punch. So his idea is that you're in there, you're using 30% hands, 10% body or feet movement, and then bang! That cut is enough to kill someone. It might not cut through a deer carcass, it didn't cut through all this, but it will kill a human. And that's what we're after, killing humans. That's what samurai do. So where else do I get my stuff? Because Natori Sensei or Isui Sensei he says go to a sword school and learn swordsmanship because he deals with high level tactics, but that's his advice for sword cutting. So, where else do I get it? Well, here's an example of me teaching, teaching is the wrong word, but exploring with the Gorin no Sho. That's Miyamoto Musashi. But my first point here is that keep that strength in the body, not in the arms. Close here, and you want strength in the sword, but it comes from this. Boom, not from, this. It's not this, it's that. And you can just see inside the frame. So, but when you go to the 4 parries of Musashi, so the first one is the slap and bounce. So as you go over, it's slap, bounce. One again, Paul. Slap and bounce, and the power is totally here. Next, what's the next one, John?
Receiving.
So receiving, as he comes in, we receive. Yeah, so come in again, Paul. Receive. And again, receive. That's it. So you actually go, Paul. You're connecting and you're receiving. Yeah, obviously you counter from there. Just back up a bit for his mate. What's the next one?
Strike through.
Strike through. You're striking it right through. So we're not bouncing and going for an ups one. We're actually striking through. Cut. Yep, one more time. Strike through. Boom. Yeah, there's hardly any movement, guys.
Holding down the blade.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. So go on. Strike through. Boom. But you can see it's all from this core muscles, the core muscles that come up here, and the core muscles there. So you've got this core, bang, everything is very short and sharp, boom. And I want you to understand it's that and not, yeah, it's not all this, it's close. And then the last one is what, sorry John?
Holding down the blade.
Holding down the blade, that comes in, it's parry and hold, yep. One more time, parry and hold, boom. Here's me actually drawing a sword from the idea of Yamamoto Kansuke's school. Yamamoto Kansuke didn't write this, but it's attributed to him, but it's probably one of his students, and this is the sword draw that he uses. This comes to the right, pulled over. The leg goes back, this is out, and the sword comes down. Now it's... Now there's a big problem here, is because Musashi himself, if you trust Musashi's words, that's up to you, he is not really very kind towards Koryu. He actually says they're useless. So I tend to stick with Musashi and Gorin no Sho. And so if you want to know where I'm getting my information from, predominantly it's Gorin no Sho, the Book of Five Rings. I'm starting to go through it to build up an idea of how he fought and how samurai in the end of the Sengoku period fought. By Sengoku period I mean the general warring periods. However, to be fair and always critical, when you're doing history you should be analytical, you should be critical. Basically, Musashi says, keep a straight back. He actually says, keep a straight back. So, against the other Koryu, and against me, the book I actually study says, straighten your back. But as I said, I feel more comfortable and more powerful. Maybe one day when I get better, I'll feel more comfortable going in closer and cutting with a straight back. I don't know. Natori Sensei, that's Isuya Sensei, didn't say whether to crouch over or not. He just says get in close and use the pull put. He may also have made an erect back. I don't know. But there is enough evidence to show that some schools do use a curved or crouched aspect. So to round up guys, you've just got to be careful. The first thing you have to realise is you do not need any training. You need zero training to hurt someone with a sword. Swords are extremely dangerous. They're extremely good at what they do, and that is chopping through flesh. It's only when they start getting to bone that they start getting problems. So first of all, if somebody's got a sword in their hand, it doesn't matter if they're monkey wielding it around, they're giving it they're doing no skill. You will die if you stand there. It doesn't. So it is useless to say to people that swordsmanship's not very good. It won't hurt anyone. What you have to realise is swordsmanship is only useful when you try to defend. If you want to kill someone, you can just swing it wildly until you lacerate them and they bleed to death. It's not a problem. But if they're a good swordsman, then they know how to defend against that and kill you. So suddenly you think, oh, my wild attacks are not going to work anymore. I need to be a good swordsman to defend myself. So in my opinion, and it's my opinion, good swordsmanship is about defence, because killing with a sword is very, very easy. Very easy indeed. However, once you get a good swordsman there and he knows how to strike and cut very well, you have to learn how to strike and cut very well, because the time frames are different. If it's just a randomer on the street that you want to kill, you can run up and you can helicopter your sword around until you kill them. But if they know what they're doing, you need to stop doing that, because you will die. So what happens is you get this evolution of martial arts to the point where you get the pinnacle of the Musashis of the world, who can fight so well that their gaps are so close and their strikes are so precise. That is a sword saint. But remember, they're sword saints. They're the best in the world. The rest of the people might not have been that good. So the key here is samurai swords are bloody dangerous, right? It doesn't matter how well trained you are, but to be effective against other opponents who are also trained, you need to be trained better or have armour. And then it changes into a whole new thing there where you have to go into a different area. But the same thing applies, is swords are dangerous, and as we've proven today, you only need the slightest cut to affect an injury. And I think I am now more than ever correct on this push-pull movement. I'm not saying that's the only way they did it. Of course I think they're going to cut down, of course I'm going to think they're going to pull in, but I think there's a much more dynamic element to the swordsmanship that we are not seeing or we've missed. So for me, this is a great experiment, and it's going to be Stephen's dinner on Sunday. Innit, Stephen? P.S. guys, I am going to clean them swords perfectly. That antique sword is going to get a very good cleaning, because now to me that is a wicked sword. It works, it cuts. It seemed a bit light and a bit, I don't know. No, what a great sword that is.